as the committee, you can ask all these things. These folks are here, and we can pick right back up where we left off. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, so it's 4:17, so it's past the 4:15. We'll call the regular business meeting to order, and we'll ask for Commissioner Tony Smith to lead us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, thank Thee for another wonderful day. Lord, bless this group of people as we're here tonight to conduct the business for our county so it's equal and fair to every individual in our county. Lord, bless our troops that are overseas fighting, protecting our lives, trying to protect our freedom that we have, our current way of living. Bless the people that are sick. Give them your hand, Lord, and guide them, get them well. In thy name we pray, amen.
Thank you for that. All right, under roll call, Commissioner Scott Johnson and Superintendent Tammy Garrett are not present tonight, but we do have a quorum. Everyone else is present. So we need to move to approve the agenda. Before we approve the agenda, if you look at number J, we had put budget amendment number 5, which would have been the potential for an amendment related to the juvenile facility. So I think it would take it off for now, and certainly we can take that back, or if you want to wait and leave it on there and take an action here in a minute. Either way, what's the wish of the body? You want to go on and remove it?
Or do we need to say that it's postponed for the 90 days?
Well, you may not need the amendment. So it's up to you, yeah. But they wanted 90 days to.
Let's just wait till we get to it
Okay.
and clarify
Okay.
that.
So then is there anything else that needs to be adjusted, moved, or added to the agenda? Okay, all right, so hearing none, motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
All right, motion second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, now we got minutes from the January 28th meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion second. Any comments or corrections? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, so now we're ready for public comment on the agenda. I don't know that I saw anybody, but raise your hand, stand up, say something if you'd like to have public comment. Okay, I don't hear none or see any. We'll move on. Now we're ready for our new business, our solid waste. I think she wasn't.
She's here.
Oh, is she? Okay, I thought maybe she was.
She's back in the corner back
There you go. All right, well, come on down.
She's short.
We're having a really good response from our annual progress report, information coming in. We've received a lot of the questionnaires back. We send out about 40 questionnaires to commercial and industrial companies, and so far we've gotten about a third back, which is quite a bit more than what we've had. We've only sent them out for about 3 weeks. We're also in the process of turning in our quotes to the state for the new recycling equipment grant. Once the quotes are received again by the state, we can place the orders. This is a lengthy process to go through all the steps just to make sure that we're in compliance with all their process. They approved the quotes to start with, but then you have to go back because it's a later date after they once approved the grant to you. Several of our attendants have been out sick with the viruses and whatever is going around, but our help, with the help of our subs, we're keeping all the centers open, and we're real happy with everybody being back on board again. All of our quarterly state inspections have been coming back really good, not even an area of concern. So hats off to our attendants for keeping the centers so clean. We do appreciate all that they do for the citizens of the county. January, recycling revenues are still down. Prices for metal, I'm not sure when they're going back up, if they ever will. $7,399.01 was our recycling revenue, 60.41 tons. Landfill cost was $34,454.22 and 957.86 tons. Does anybody have any questions?
So Diane, back to the grants.
Uh-huh.
So hopefully maybe by this February, by May, or at least by summer.
Oh, yeah, no, they did approve it. So we have gotten the new grants. They've gone, not grants, I'm sorry, the quotes have gone back into them. So we're in the process of just after the committee meeting next month to approve our budget, then, or changing the budget, then we can go ahead and order those things.
So
and be
maybe
ready.
April, May?
Yeah.
Okay.
It only takes, I think they said probably 3 weeks on all the cans to come in. The compactor will be out a month or two, so.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Any questions? All right, she always does a great report. Thank you. All right, and next is HR, and I believe we have your report. She wasn't in today, under the weather. And next, I believe Archives is in the house. I know she's got a report for us, and she's making her way up.
We are picking up business in the archives and working with Circuit and moving some of their records back over to the records building. And we've been doing a great deal with our researchers. We've had numerous requests for all kinds of records related to people's licenses and their STAR certification on those driver's licenses from any time period within the last 50 years. We're working on indexing to improve all our records that we have as far as our indexing and be able to pull things very quickly for people. Mr. Vic, we got something very quickly for you the other day. So we're trying to work on those and improve our access every day. We're still moving some of the temporary records out to proper disposal on a regular basis, reviewing all of those. And our special projects this last month is we're moving forward with our grant and getting all our grant supplies in and getting those in place and taken care of on the state level. One thing I forgot to put is we've been asked at the archives to consult with the folks at the Fly for their museum room. They have an extensive, actually much more extensive collection than I realized. Scrapbooks, photographs, history of the whole county. And so we're starting to meet with them to improve not only their museum, but hopefully their storage of their historic materials there. So, any questions?
Questions for her? Thank you for that. It is amazing how people trickle in looking for information. Thank you for that. All right, next is our architect and owner rep. So give your standard report, and then we can go right back into if there's any question or anything that we want more clarification on.
So I'd like to go through our report tonight because we just have a lot going on. Court date for the high school floor, we're hoping to have in March. Cascade concession stand, we started on 210. It's framed and roofed. Plumbers are inside and electricians. We expect to go to sheetrock end of next week. We have construction approved for the community middle school. We have a meeting on site tomorrow on that. Liberty master plan has been approved and released to KSA for design. Liberty is, we have the roof on. We started conditioning the building, and we're doing finish out for electrical, plumbing, and electrical. We have started rework for the O2 shop classrooms to make those into teachable classrooms. Thomas Elementary, the floors will be finished tomorrow. We have furniture coming in Friday, and the alarm system should be completed the middle of next week for the whole school. The existing bathrooms are drywalled and tile will begin at the end of this week. Furniture is scheduled for the new addition in the middle of March. Cascade Ag Buildings, should get final drawings this week, Bart, is that correct? Final drawings this week on both those buildings. We relocated the Ag Building at Cascade as we're working on the master plan. That's been a delay on that project. Greenhouse is completed at the Annex Building. We've also built 2 other additional growing houses next to the larger greenhouse. Those were paid for grants. Those were finished this week. We had a meeting on the vestibules for security with Dr. Garrett and her team, along with Mr. Harwell, Colin from KSA, Bart, and myself. We hope to get those drawings turned around for approval in the next 30 days. I have a meeting with Jeff Pitts from Preferred Glass tomorrow to go through all those structures. The roof at Community, BCLA Middle School, and the Annex Building are getting a core drilled, so we have a good idea of what type roof we need to put on those. So, in the past, those buildings have been Band-Aided, and we're at the point now where we have to meet the new energy code, which is 5 inches of insulation on the roof. So we should have those numbers back. We've already started getting bids, but at the next finance meeting, we'll be able to present those. Josh has done a great job at the courthouse. I met with them today. They're telling me we'll be finished with all the lighting on 310. And I know that's been a long project, but those will be completed. Surplus building, we've already discussed. Emergency management, we've got to get a contract signed with KSA to start that process. I'm waiting on approval from the director. And archives building work began yesterday. We finally got warm enough weather to start doing some welding on the rails and building the cover on the back awning. So hopefully we'll have those completed in the next 2 weeks.
And
So,
you-
I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
Do you remember on that ramp, Carol, did she leave?
No, she's back.
We wanted it so that you could pull things down and in. Do you remember? Oh,
Yes.
I just want to make sure.
And we're gonna extend the sidewalk for handicap access
Yeah.
on the rear.
Yes.
Is there any other questions? And if there's something, I know we're just coming off of having studied, but if you want any clarification, and certainly when we get down to the amendments, if there's anything we're considering, we certainly drag them back up here. But if there's anything that we didn't answer or we left undone. Okay, all right, thank you. I believe next would be our monthly reports.
Yeah, you've got a copy of your monthly report, and I really don't have anything unusual to report because we dealt with most of this in the amendment that's coming up, if there was anything that needed to be adjusted. So we're pretty much tracking as we should be. On the property tax collections, the next area, this is compared this year to last year. Now, that doesn't mean we didn't budget this increase, but we have $1.4 million more in property tax than the same time last year, 61,000 more than the prior year collections. Clerk and master collections are 5,500 less than last year. Sales tax is $1,020,000 more than last year. Mineral severance tax, currently we get a report quarterly, is almost 2,500 less. But I expect, seeing all of the traffic on Midland Road and 231, we're gonna have a lot of mineral severance tax this year. Cause it goes by my house from 6:30 to 6:30.
I think it will be a little increase, I believe.
It's like a truck every minute. You also have a copy of the expenditures that show the average at being 58.33%. Anything above that is highlighted in red. And some of this will be dealt with in the amendments that we are bringing up, so that at the end of the year, we will have none of these in the red. So that's my report.
Okay, is there any questions in the standard regular monthly reports? Okay. Our other reports, which is EMS, and they're here.
All right, we've had an extremely busy month so far. We're at a leadership conference last week, and we're doing a lot of in-house training. We've got a lot of projects going on currently. I know we've been working with Mr. Sweeney and the team on the morgue. Other than that, I don't have anything to add to this report, and if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Looks good. Anything to, thank you for that. So now do we need a motion to approve these reports? Okay, so we need a motion to approve the reports.
So move.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, so now we're ready to go to amendments, and the first one is Board of Education Budget Amendment number 2.
Okay, if you'll look at page 1, you will see a summary of what's being amended. We had some transfers, preschool grants, Gear Up grant, STS grant, a mini grant. We had some refunds. We had a little bit of money coming from fund balance. And then on page 2, you'll see, 2 and 3, you'll see where that money was, well, actually, page 2. You'll see where that money went into the expenditure side. So that's the school budget amendment.
Okay, yeah, we're open for discussion on that, and then again, I think the standard is the school board reviews these and approves them before they come to us as well.
Yes.
So they've been looked at by their body as well. So motion to approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion second. Any other comments or discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, so next is County Budget Amendment number 3.
Okay, this is the normal amendment we do at this time. In this amendment, if you'll look at page 1, you'll see that this consists of contributions. We had some refunds. We had a recycling equipment grant of $124,000, $125,000. We had a training equipment grant. We had a mental health transport grant, and we had some an EMA DOJ grant. We had some refunds and reimbursements, firefighter equipment training grant, and state salary supplement, which comes from the state to give to some of these departments. And then we had some money from restricted fund balance, and then also fund balance. Page 2, you will see where page 2 and 3, this time you'll see where the money was allocated through the expenditures.
All right, so, this is our typically quarterly, and so they'll touch several departments because they're just kind of cleanup in normal business. I would keep in mind, or point out to you that consideration for, the morgue, if we go forward, I have it separated out. We take a lot of scrutiny for bundling things, as they say, and when it come to borrowing the money, that's how the financial people said it had to be. But in this case, as we get ready for the next consideration of the morgue, it is separate. It is not part of this. So I want to make it clear to you that this is our run-of-the-mill standard quarterly amendment that we would put forward. So is there a motion to approve this one?
So move.
Second.
All right, motion second. Now we're open for discussion. Everybody understood what I was saying? Okay, all in favor? All right, those opposed. Now, we have an amendment number 4 that we're putting before you, and this is specifically to deal with the morgue situation. I think we thought that we may be at 210. It sounds like based on the conversation, we maybe should ask you guys to consider that to be 260. I need Robert to explain to you where the funds would come from if you choose to do it.
Okay, we talked to the
Everything?
comptroller's office
250.
because we have been getting extra money in interest, and they gave us permission to actually move this money from interest since we could designate that. So the money from interest is going toward the construction of the morgue. So money will be transferred from debt service, where the interest was collected, over to the capital projects fund, where it will be expended.
Okay, and they just clarified 250 would be appropriate number for consideration.
Now, we had 200 in there originally with a 10%, or 10,000 as a contingency, so you probably need, if you're gonna do 250, it needs to be 260 total on the amendment.
250 plus the 10 for contingency.
Right.
So that's what we're asking you guys to consider, debate, and ask questions about right now, whether you would want to do that or not. If we vote for this, and the commission approve it, this would allow the morgue process to continue. If you don't, or if you want to send it without a recommendation, whatever the wish of the body is, it would need to go to the commission ultimately for approval before we could really start the morgue itself, because those funds were not part of what we disclosed in the beginning without doing this process.
And I can correct this to go to the commission.
I make a motion, send this to commission with a recommendation.
All right, the 250 plus the 10,000 for contingency, total of 260,000. All right.
I'll second it, but, Mayor, we've had some people come in. Go back through why we're having to do this.
The morgue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and we did talk about it at the study session, wise, and you're correct. We have had some people come in. It's sort of been a trend across the state and probably the nation, but it was a little bit slow getting to Bedford, but it showed up, and that is that hospitals have trended away from allowing out-of-hospital deaths to come to their facility and then be responsible for managing that body. We enjoyed that for a long time, the county stepping up because they owned the hospital for many years. And through time, we got a little grace, but that ran out, and Vanderbilt put us on notice months ago that they were not going to be in a position to continue to manage those bodies for us. And so this was something that was not necessarily foreseen in the original plan of the projects that we were putting forward, but because we were looking at a surplus facility and there was a plausible path to incorporate it within that facility, it would stand separate with all of its own components, but to incorporate into it to save some money and for it to make sense. That's what's been discussed. That's what the design components have been up to this point. That's what was discussed earlier. And so, but for us to actually have the proper funding mechanism for that, this amendment would need to be ultimately approved by the county commission.
Have we got a grace period? Are they gonna deal with us until we get this?
We currently already are managing them through the old workhouse facility. where we had some left behind, wore out refrigeration equipment that is helping us to deal with this till we can
There's
get.
bodies over there?
Yes.
We are, every chance we get, the county would not
Not do
manage a
that.
body. Right, funeral homes and lots of other opportunities to not have us have to house them, but there are situations where we will, and that number's gonna grow as we grow as a community,
But no
obviously.
new employee.
No
no
new
no-
staff or anything this time. It's being managed by EMS, but we just don't physically have the equipment to do this correctly and appropriately going forward without making this investment. Yeah, so we have the motion a second. We have discussion.
I want
Yes,
to say
sir.
one more
Okay.
thing. When we did this originally, we called the comptroller about moving interest, and they said that they would approve this as a one-time thing if we did it for the juvenile and the morgue. And they don't want it to become a habit, so it's not something we can do all the time. I just wanted to point that
These are
out.
considered capital projects.
Yes.
And you think that's why they did this?
It's because it's out of interest money.
Okay.
So
Not-
no
not
property
property
tax and not out of the current budget.
Right.
I just got a quick question. Sure. When you just said that, does that mean do we need to put this off until the 90-day period if it gotta be done together?
No,
Okay.
because
I
we talked about
misunderstood.
both projects.
Oh, okay.
This is just the amendment to what we've already really done.
Correct.
Sorta.
And understand, this is a totally separate amendment that on the floor of the commission, when they voted up or down, it would only affect whether or not we do the morgue. It is not the standard quarterly,
And it's not involves
Amendment.
anything else.
nothing else.
And the money coming from this interest money is new money, basically, so it doesn't have effect on the budget, current budget we're on.
It's actually money in excess of what we budgeted.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So it's no effect to any budgeting for this year's budget.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, good discussion. Other questions, comments? We had a motion and a second, so we're ready to vote. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you for that. Now, the next one was, we went ahead in anticipation that we would need to put forward consideration of an amendment that would deal with the juvenile facility, but because they're asking, their recommendation is for 90 days to see where they fall. So if this body wants to defer that, not act on it, remove it, whatever you want.
I'd like for Bart or Jeff to go back over everything. I know it's redundant, but, as to why they're asking for the 90 days and what our plan is and what's developed since the last time we talked and so forth, so.
Yeah, so we'll put the
Can you
architect up there.
turn it on, can you wind it back and just do like you did?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so to date, we've designed a, what I would consider more of like a jail facility, more of a maximum facility, opposed to a facility that still meets the children's requirements. So we're looking at basically pivoting and designing a different type of facility that maintains the same scope as we've already designed. So when I say minimum security versus maximum security, what we're really talking about is construction type. So for instance, in the type of equipment in the facility. So we're not really doing anything other than pivoting on what the county was looking at doing before, which was more of a jail, opposed to a juvenile facility that is more rehab-based. So across the state, what you'll see is Children's Services has taken a positive action to where they're replacing Wilder with a lock 'em up where the severe goes, but they're also doing regional centers that are more of a minimum security facility, a rehabilitation facility. You've heard the word recidivism said before? Okay, so recidivism is basically when we are a jail, we don't feel like a jail, but we're promoting the ability that we don't want you coming back, right? And so it's more of a rehabilitative scenario that sits well with some people it doesn't. But that's what we're talking about. This 90 days allows us to pivot. We know what a jail costs for a juvenile facility. We know that we can't afford that unless we ask for more money of the commission. And as I understand it, the juvenile facility, they are comfortable with a different type facility than they were before if it still provides them their total scope of being able to house so many individuals. So that's what we're doing.
So we could, if we accept their recommendation that we give 90 days to revisit this, we could withdraw or table this one, and then once we hear back from them, we would be able to build or prepare an appropriate, a budget amendment for consideration. But it's up to you, or if you want to just defer it, keep in mind, this one has a specific dollar amount to it and all that.
And we'll be checking in too. I mean, I'm sure Jeff, I'm sure this is a monthly meeting, so
It
you'll
is.
be getting the feedback. I mean, we already know what this type facility costs, and now we're going down the avenue of a different type facility that still meets the need. It's just a different type of facility.
Correct. So what say you?
I think defer it for 90 days with an update each 30 days or at each meeting, if you would.
Yes.
Can I suggest we just withdraw it and then
Okay,
just do it again?
let's just withdraw this for 90 days.
Not you guys, we're just talking about the amendment.
The
that we're
amendment,
considering.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
just
Okay.
so that,
But we can, but that doesn't preclude us bringing it back.
No.
And,
And
noth-
he wa-
and the, and the
I
dog,
wanna make sure everyone understands it's still a locking facility, that doesn't change. So I wanna make sure when we say different type, it's still a locked juvenile facility detention. We're just gonna look at the structure different on how we can get to where a number that meets the needs of the county and the kids of the county within the budget confines that were set.
yeah, and I think this group understands that what we were debating was whether or not we could do anything with this amendment or just withdraw it. So I think the recommendation is to withdraw it. Was that your motion? The
Yes.
amendment?
yeah, oh, yeah.
And so,
I second.
okay, so all in favor on that? Okay, and understand that your work continues on, just like you report monthly, and we're getting your interaction. So is everybody comfortable there? All right, we're ready to move on then to Board of Education surplus.
Move to approve.
All right, motion second. All in favor?
Yeah.
Any opposed? All right, and now, flock cameras.
Ooh, yeah.
And I know the sheriff's office has a representative present. And so why don't you step up here, and I know you did a presentation for the Public Safety Committee, but now we're reaching the point of considering funding for this model, at least to get it started. So give us the snapshot. We have the detail that was in our packet from you, so what say you?
Yeah, so what you've been provided, and for those that weren't at the public safety meeting, these are essentially cameras along the roadways throughout the county that have LPR technology, which is license plate recognition. They give us the ability to better track who's coming into our county, amber alerts, silver alerts. If we've had crimes that have occurred here, it gives us a way to, just another tool to investigate those crimes. And I think I said at the meeting, I really think as far as law enforcement equipment that comes around in technology, this is one of the ones that I would say I think is a game changer for law enforcement. In fact, I saw a story on Fox News yesterday where Dallas has seen a huge decrease in crime, and they specifically claim that their flock cameras have led to a lot of that. The other benefit of this is what you've got before you is an option for either 8 cameras or 14 cameras. We went around and looked at the different areas in the county, and we think 14 cameras would lock down the county, I guess you could say. 8 cameras is the minimum for us to gain access to the other 90,000 cameras in the United States that are currently in use. Lincoln County, Coffee County, Rutherford County, and the city of Sheffield is currently utilizing that, even though some of those are still in the early parts of it. They're still having some of those cameras installed. And we've already benefited from these cameras a couple times just because we've had things in Bedford County that leaked into other communities who did have flock cameras, and we reached out, and they were able to assist us with it. One of those was locating a elderly lady with dementia that ended up 2 states away, and just from the vehicle information, we were able to track her and locate her. So I really think it'd be an enormous benefit for Bedford County and the
Yeah,
community.
how much money, was the rule of thumb 3,000 per camera?
So the cameras are 3,000 apiece per year, and then of course what you've got before you is an installation. There's some installation cost to that too. That would be upfront. So, but then it is 3,000 a camera.
So what is the amount? Because we see 2 numbers. One's 27,000, one's 47.
Yeah, what he
Cameras and
what he presented to you, one of those is an option for 8 cameras, and then you've got some installation fees, and then you see the subtotal for year one was 27.9, and then the annual recurring subtotal would be 24,000, with, 3,000 times 8 cameras. On the other one was the option for if we chose to do the 14 cameras, and I think that was at 47.9 initially with the installation, and then yearly, of course, that would be 42,000. I will say that if we do, and I would take advantage of it, even if we do the 8 cameras, Flock has what they call a PPI program where they essentially would come in and they would install all 14 cameras for 60 days. And then after 60 days, if you decided that you didn't want 14 cameras, they come and pull the 6 that you don't want. So, depending on how we go, I would still like to take advantage of that for 60 days anyway, because you never know what might happen within that 60 days that those extra 6 might benefit us.
Right. Now, we talked about this in my office, and then we had the presentation at Public Safety, and now here we are today. And I think that we were discussing that I think you felt like that even if we could get started with the 8, so to speak, where that you have access to the entire system, and that's where we were talking back and forth about, although obviously if it was going to be reoccurring, which it would be for a long-term plan, but it does not require a multi-year agreement. Is that right? It's year to year?
Correct.
So
we can do either, but they do a yearly contract.
right.
as well.
And so on that, the discussion was, and something for us to think about, was one time setting it up out of capital improvement to get it going, understanding that they would have to ask for reoccurring in their budget. And then if it got approved in their budget, it would continue on. If it did not get approved in their budget, after the 1 year, it would just simply go away again without any contract commitment. Now, am I misrepresenting what we talked about?
No, that's correct.
All right, and the city of Shelbyville is participating in this program as well, is that correct?
They are. I think they may have 3 of their cameras installed, and I believe, I don't wanna tell you something not true, but I think they were getting like 10 or 11 around the city.
Right, they were gonna get enough to be in the program to see all of the cameras
Correct.
as well.
Yes.
And so if we were strategic, I think you were talking to me about where we placed ours versus the ones they have, we could really enhance both programs, both the city of Shelbyville's program and the county's, with this, if it turns out to be the wishes of the body to do
we
it.
have the money in capital?
Well, we may have to amend, but speak.
I didn't know how much we're dealing with yet,
No,
so
no.
I will have to check and see.
Well, on the 8 cameras versus the 14, I could not vote for it unless you can guarantee me the whole 5th district's gonna be covered too, so. Unless you wanna spout off exactly where
I
the
can-
8 are gonna be,
They won't all be in the 5th district. I can promise you that.
And you don't want people seeing you in your gown walking around outside,
not.
so, that's right.
so, I mean, let's look at it as.
So we'll bring it
go
back
the
next
whole
month.
thing but don't you think go on and proceed with maybe the freebie for the 60 days and, or
Well,
at
but that's
least
under
more
the
detail,
assumption that we're going to
gonna-
take the 8, it's just
Right.
to get the entire one, is that correct? or
Correct,
not?
yes. If we agree even to the 8, they will install the 14.
Yeah. But we get down and we want 14. I want 14.
Yeah, well, and again, that's a matter
I
of
know what you're
making a
gonna do to me. You're
recommendation
gonna
to the
cut me
commission.
out.
Hold up just a second, I guess, our guys.
So, I had a question about this, maybe you could answer. What we've run into with our camera systems, they do have a life cycle, they've got a lifespan, and what I'd like to know, and I'm sure you probably already answered this, do they have is it gonna be one of those situations where whenever they come end of life, that they come and they upgrade them for free? Or do we have to pay for a complete installation again down the road whenever they come to an end of life?
No, and I think Commissioner Yaki may have touched on this in the public safety meeting, but we don't own the equipment. They own the equipment. We own the data.
It
so-
sits outside our system entirely, IT-wise as well.
Correct.
So,
So, yes, if there's any issues with the equipment, that's on them. They'll fix that. Yeah.
okay, all right, so, do y'all want to study this a month? Do you have a recommendation or a thought process, or where are you going with this?
Well, let's see, Robert will be back next month with whether
We-
we got the money or not.
Yeah, we may have to do an amendment, so.
Yeah, but we can still pretend and. give
what-
him,
What versus 8 versus 14 in your field of expertise? Which is the area that, to make it work, if they're gonna put the 14 anyway, wouldn't you desire to have all 14 in to cover the whole county
You
like you
better.
got it laid out?
Well, I'd take 30 if you would give them to us, but,
Yeah.
so absolutely I would. But, and basically with the 14, the way we've got them laid out, if, we went through and we did 14 and then we removed the 6 that we felt like would benefit us possibly the least. There are a couple of highways because of the way these cameras are set up. I mean, they're stationary cameras. You're getting one direction. Now, the mayor pointed out that working with the PD on how they set their cameras up versus how we set our cameras up can benefit us both, but it's not just them. We're working with Lincoln County, Coffee County, Rutherford County, where are your cameras at, where are they pointed at, and then because once we get ours, we have access to theirs, they have access to ours. I mean, it's just basically a big net. So we try to work together on that. We do have a couple of highways where the way as it stands right now, we would have 2 cameras. We would have to remove, obviously one of those cameras. We would just have to determine which one we thought was the most beneficial to us. We also, I would like to have one out at the county line near the interstate. But looking at just, the things that we deal with, we may have to remove that one and still have one on 64 East, but not that far out at the interstate. So
If
just
you drop below
things
the
like that.
14, that's talking about.
If we
where
drop
you-
below the 14, correct.
we're not dropping below the, can't.
Yeah, that's why I was asking the question. For what you're needing them for, had you rather have 14 or go with the 8 and 6 and then in 60 days they're gone? Wouldn't it be?
Oh, no, yeah, the 14
Yeah.
would be ideal, correct.
Because that way Robert knows what money to look for to come back with. Instead of having 2 things, he just got one thing to find.
And one of the things, without rehashing the whole presentation they did, but it's constantly monitoring, and if you've put alerts in there of something specifically you're looking for, it's going to in real time ding to somebody or your designee. So those officers that can't be on every street every minute, even though they're on patrol or working, if we're looking for a white vehicle with a busted out left tail light, this thing, if it comes through that camera, it's going to alert you, even if it was in Coffee County, if they have the system and all that. Is that right?
Correct, and that's what I love about the flock system is because it has the LPR technology, but it doesn't just operate off license plate data. If we have a vehicle description and we don't have a license plate, but we know that somebody told us it had a bumper sticker on the back of it, I can take any of that data and put it in the system, and it will alert us of any vehicle that matches that criteria. So you can filter it down a lot of different ways.
You can say white, you can say Chevy, you can say all those.
Model, toolbox on the back. You can say I want anything that had a Alabama tag on it. I mean, don't know the tag number, but we know it was an Alabama tag. I can put that in. I mean, it's almost limitless. If there's a detail about that vehicle, you can use it as a search.
I'm not gonna be like Commissioner Yaki. She's not voting for it if you don't put them all in her district, but I am gonna vote for it because I think it's best for the citizens here, but I'm gonna be the first one you arrest off these cameras, so I'll go ahead and vote for it anyway, so.
I will point out, it
You'll
does
see me,
not
Joe.
monitor speed.
Okay, good, we're good, we're
It's
good.
Oh, it
not,
doesn't?
it's not a traffic camera. It doesn't monitor speed or anything like
I'm
that.
probably safe for a little while.
Expired
Yeah,
tags,
It doesn't do, no, none of that.
excellent.
And it
None of
doesn't
that.
send you a ticket in the mail saying you were speeding
It
on.
does not.
Okay,
It does
all
not.
right. Yeah, but it does give you all the law enforcement leg up in a quick hurry to be searching or isolating an area if we have an active real-time event going on. That's really the beauty, right?
Correct, yes. And, yeah, and because, I mean, we may have 4 deputies in, a county that's 475 square miles. That's not a lot of eyes. That's not as many eyes as we'd like to have, but these are 24 hours a day. That is, as soon as that camera hits on something that maybe did happen in Coffee County, or maybe it's a missing person from another community, maybe it's an Amber Alert, maybe it's a sex offender that just came into our community that doesn't live here, we get notified that that person just came into our county.
And back to Josh's question, if somebody shoots one of them out, it's that company's problem, right?
Correct.
Okay.
However, they did say if somebody kept shooting it out, we might have to talk about that.
Well, we ought to have seen who it was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Thank,
all right, there you go. If this
Sideways.
thing works right. Okay, so what do we want to do here is, we want to defer it for a month and ask Robert to see what our funding mechanisms could be and bring something back next month for a possible funding source to go to the commission? Is that,
Yeah, that's my recommendation.
okay, so that's the
Defer
motion.
for a
Is there a
month.
second to that?
We need to see if we got the money before we move on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm
sure.
saying.
Yeah,
So we'll
yeah,
bring it back next month with a potential path if we, okay? So are you seconding that, or is Mark second? Okay, so the motion and the second is to, have Robert review what our options are and bring back to the next month under, the recommendation of looking at going with the full 14.
Okay.
No, I'm saying that's what you're
Yes,
recommending.
absolutely.
And I think that's what we're saying we want
Right.
to look at is what that process. All right, everybody in agreement with that? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, now we're moving on. Other business, did I miss any? Okay, announcements, courthouse property is gonna have their study session regarding the wastewater, 28/5/15, community room of the historic courthouse. That's a Friday night, so, go there, and I believe our people will be there expecting to be able to, record it. And so, if you can't be there, you can catch it on YouTube later, or you can watch it live, remotely as they go about that. There's supposed to be some different disciplines and folks there to, I guess, to clarify from both positions, the pros and the cons of such a action by the county government. Yes, sir, Commissioner Tony Smith.
I saw the agenda for the Friday night meeting, and it says special call meeting. I thought it was a study session. That's the way it came out of the commission.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I believe you're correct. Any other comments? It's gonna be Friday night, the 28th at 5:15, whatever they
Right.
call it. Okay.
And he has nothing better to do than tend to it.
Tony Smith, I'm glad you speak for him. All right, is there anything else that I've missed, or this is Commissioner Yaki? All right. Oh, we got one more, yes, sir. Sports field lights tomorrow.
Ooh,
Okay,
yeah.
fantastic. All right, are we ready to